There was a moment in the early 2000s where it genuinely felt like nobody could stop G Unit. 50 Cent was arguably the biggest rapper on earth. Dr. Dre and Eminem were behind him. The albums were selling millions. The clothing line was huge. The sneakers sold out. And then came The Game. He was marketable, and under Dr. Dre and 50's machine, it felt like the beginning of a rap dynasty. And then it exploded. What makes the whole thing fascinating almost 20 years later is that the downfall didn't really start because of the music. It started because 50 Cent went to war with practically everybody. Now, to be fair, 50 had his reasons for a lot of it. And 50 understood something most rappers didn't. Conflict kept him hot. Every beef made him bigger. The problem is, Game wasn't built the same way. Game grew up idolizing these dudes. And while 50 was treating rap like organized warfare, Game was still trying to preserve relationships. And that eventually became a problem. The breaking point everybody remembers was around Fat Joe and Jadakiss. 50 was actively beefing with both of them. Game didn't want any parts of that. And in G Unit, that hesitation looked disloyal. If we're into it with somebody, you're into it with somebody. And honestly, that mentality is part of why Curtis Jackson became 50 Cent. But it's probably the same mentality that damaged the empire long term. Because once the tension between him and Game became public, everything changed. And then came the infamous radio station incident.
So we went up there, they wouldn't let us in, and so we got into, some shit with his entourage and his security, and shots were fired. A lot of shots were fired.
And the Game gets removed from G Unit and starts G Unit. And overnight, the hottest movement in rap became Civil War. Now, interestingly enough, everybody technically survived if you ask history. But there's still this feeling that something massive got cut short. Because if G Unit stays together, hip-hop history possibly changes. That's what makes this story bigger than rap beef nostalgia. It's really about how fragile empires are. Because the G Unit of then didn't end from lack of talent. It ended from the same thing that destroys a lot of powerful movements. Ego, loyalty, paranoia, ambition, and too many leaders in one room. Which is why 20 years later, G Unit still feels less like a finished story and more like one of the biggest what-ifs in hip-hop history. So the question is, will we ever see a G Unit reunion that involves The Game? Until next time, this has been the LA Perspective.